All right, welcome everybody to our November meeting. Glad to see you all here. And again, like always, fasten your seatbelts. We've got a full agenda, a lot to cover. So with that, I'd like to lead off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We have a public hearing scheduled for this evening. I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing for the Spectrum Agreement.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to open the public comment section for the public hearing. They're really all on the same.
Second.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Now I'm going to turn it over to you, Lydia.
The Village of Rhinebeck has had a franchise agreement in place with Time Warner Cable since March of 1991, granting the use of the village's right-of-ways to Time Warner Cable and its successors to provide cable television service to the property owners in the village. Long story short, basically for 23 years, Time Warner and its successors, currently Spectrum, have been paying us for the use of stringing their wires on the poles. This contract is 33 years old, 33 years old. They are asking to update it. Substantively, on our end, very little has changed. A lot has changed on federal communications laws, and so that's why the contract needs to be updated. Also, it's no longer Time Warner Cable, it is Spectrum. The impact of this is negligible. The impact of this new contract is negligible on the village or its Spectrum cable holders. But in order to update this agreement, we have to have a public hearing. So here we are.
To open up for public comment. Is there anybody here who would like to make a comment? Hearing none. I'd like to make a motion to close the public comment section.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Now I'd like to make a motion to accept the resolution for adopting the updated franchise agreement between Spectrum Northeast and an indirect subsidiary of Charter Communications and the Village of Rhinebeck.
Second, but
We'll go to discussion.
okay.
Right.
Second.
Second?
Okay.
All right. Now, I'll open up discussion by the board.
So the definition of revenues we have two different definitions of revenues that we need to figure out which one we want. One of them will lose the village $4,500-ish a year. One of them will not. I would make the suggestion that we keep the one that has us keeping the maximum amount of revenue. That's the only comment that I have.
My only comment that I would just share with you is the franchise tax is a pass-through for the cable company. So although we, the village, could get $4,500 more, which is always nice to receive, it's coming out of our subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever we do to increase that franchise fee just gets passed on directly to you. So that's my concern.
Right, and I would usually agree with, I do agree with that, I do agree that's concerning. However, everybody in this village helps to pay for the village's bills. And if that $4,500, which won't be seen as an increase to subscribers, isn't coming out of the Spectrum agreement, then it's coming out of property taxpayers. And the last time we passed a budget, we had $1 to spare on property taxes without going
under the cap.
To stay under the cap. So, so I'm just saying that, like, in the world where we have 30 different line items for revenue, only one of which is property taxes, we get our revenue from lots of different spaces in the village. The minute we start making those line items smaller, we have to make the property tax line item bigger. And Well, I mean, like, flat revenues and flat budgets means decrease in service, like, you know, like, everything gets more expensive every year. So if we're not raising, you know, if revenues aren't going up, then services are being cut. So in order to keep the village functioning at the level that everybody has gotten used to the village functioning, I would argue that we don't cut off a revenue source from ourselves.
And I'm gonna counter with, we've increased revenues going into the next year.
Of course, we increase our revenues every year.
Well, but we made significant increases in terms of our other contracts to bring them up to the level where we're grouping more money, you know, to cover our services from either the town of Rhinebeck or, you know, from the fire department, the police department, or from the school. We've updated all of those contracts to,
Which I'll have you know that if they're coming from the town of Rhinebeck, then the village of Rhinebeck is also paying for that because we partially pay for the town of Rhinebeck's budget. So I mean, like, it's all coming out of our
it
pockets
all
in some
comes out of
form or
something,
another.
there's no doubt about it. Depends on where you want to charge it from.
Well, I'd like to just add a couple of things. One is that if we don't take the $4,500, we will be getting, the village will be getting $4,500 less, correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay. is
Theoretically,
Spectrum-
yes.
Yeah.
Is Spectrum going to give that money back to their users?
No,
No, so that's the point.
no, why would they?
Exactly.
right. So I'd rather
why-
have the village keep it.
Yeah, so why don't we just keep it? That's number one. Number two, not everybody has, I don't have Spectrum, for example. Not everybody has Spectrum, so this is not equitable.
So you're not paying the franchise tax, that's correct.
Right.
You don't pay it.
That's correct, but I'm just saying that if we, all the people will be equally paying, all of us will be making up the $4,500 regardless of whether we use Spectrum or
No,
not.
only the Spectrum customers will be making it up, if we charge Spectrum.
What I'm,
If we don't charge them, if we don't, first of all, if we don't charge them, you said they're not going to drop it. Why? Because they're paying us $4,500 less. They should be happy.
You know, I thought you said this, I think you said the franchise fee is a pass-through.
Pretty much,
So,
yes.
right, so I assume they're just tacking that on to,
If we change our definition of franchise fee,
right.
then yes, that gets passed on to Spectrum customers.
And we currently have it at it currently is, the change is at the higher amount, is that correct?
I mean, we haven't passed a contract, so like at the moment, we just have a choice
Contract.
between two revenue definitions.
The old contract, what's the?
The old contract is the one that includes this sort of $4,500-ish.
So it's being paid.
So this is keeping the
Oh.
status quo.
So I
Right.
thought the old contract, now I'm confused. I
No,
thought the old contract didn't do this.
no, the old contract did do
Oh,
this.
so-
So the old contract maximized revenues,
Oh,
and so I am suggesting that we continue to maximize revenues.
I misunderstood you.
Yeah, no, this isn't an increase.
I
This-
want to keep the existing contract.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
exactly, exactly.
Now I get it.
Got it. Okay.
I thought the way you worded it, we were asking for an increase in the.
No, I wouldn't do that to the villagers.
Holding it steady.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
holding it steady.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I understand, sorry.
Okay, cool. Yes,
Glad we had that discussion.
yeah. So, Spectrum has agreed to either revenue definition. They were like, we don't care, this is up to you. And so I will go back to them and, depending on how we vote tonight, make sure that the appropriate revenue definition is slotted into the contract that I will then hand to you to sign.
All right,
Okay, great.
so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
So which one are we voting on?
We're keeping the existing contract.
Well, hold on. Let's be a little bit more specific with that. Charter spectrum. Okay. Not everyone. Okay. So using the gross revenue definition, and I can give this to you, Martina. Using the gross revenue definition that says means any revenue is determined in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles received by the grantee from the operation of the cable system. That's sort of the thing, the operation of the cable system to provide cable services in the franchise area. Provided, however, that such phrase shall not include la 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 la. So it's literally just the operation of the cable system. Okay,
Okay, so
great.
maintaining that definition.
Maintain that definition. Okay, great.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great.
Therefore, make a motion to close the public hearing for the contract with Spectrum.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So done.
Thank you.
Thanks for handling that. Lydia.
You're welcome. Next up, cell phone towers.
Did that one. Well, we need to-
Endless spaghetti.
No, we should, we didn't do cell phone.
No, we haven't done
We did 5G.
Yeah.
Okay, next. Vanessa, we have a presentation on composting.
Yes, it might take me a little minute to get set up. Do you want to do public comment while I try to get set
Would you like us to?
Have you tried just sharing your screen with Chromecast?
up? No.
Is the Chromecast in the back?
Did you, I'm sure the Chromecast novel?
So.
Was there?
No, but she, I don't think the MacBook's done.
Yeah, do you have Chromecast on the Apple?
You have it on the phone.
Yeah, but I don't think the MacBook's Chromecast.
It doesn't have Chromecast, sorry, it's just a TV.
Yeah. I have, actually,
Oh my God, thank you.
You're welcome. It's not Chromecast, sorry, it's the TV itself.
here, Vanessa,
Yeah,
I have a CDHDMI. Oh, you got it,
it seems
okay.
to be working. Amazing.
I'm a wire kind of guy. I got a CDHDMI.
Can you all hear me okay?
Is the mic on?
You can hear me?
No, turn the mic on. There's a switch on the top.
How's that?
You gotta be really close to that one,
I'm
Vanessa.
gonna do the Phil Donahue then. Okay, how's that?
That's better.
All right. So excited to be presenting about the launch of our new Village Compost Program. Woo! Okay, so I'll be covering a little bit of background, the goal of the program and the grant we received, the details of our contract with the farm, and then how it will work for you, our village residents, and then some next steps. So some background. About 30% of the average household's garbage is compostable material. And what's wrong with food going into your garbage? When it is sequestered in a landfill, it actually produces methane, which is a very potent greenhouse gas, 28% or 28 times more potent than carbon dioxide. And so working on this project is not only good for creating richer soil here locally, but also it does align with the village's overall climate planning strategies, such as our greenhouse gas emissions inventory that you see here. So taking a step back and thinking about food waste, we do have this hierarchy in mind. First is source reduction, then edible food rescue, residential backyard composting, and then small-scale decentralized composting. So source reduction means don't buy more than you need at the grocery store in the first place. Try to cook your food efficiently and economically in the first place. And then food rescue, I don't know if you have heard about this, there's an organization called Dirty Gaia. They specialize in setting up extra produce from your backyard vegetable gardens. You can donate those to the food pantries here in Rhinebeck Village. Or for example, Red Hook Responds, they partner with Feed HV. They rescued just tons and tons of food at the Dutchess County Fairgrounds, for example. And so the Village's Climate Smart Task Force, we try to share this out and help people find out about these awesome programs. So that's food rescue. Backyard composting. We have created a how-to if you want to get started composting in your backyard. It's up on our climatesmartrhinebeck.org website. Village residents who are already composting in your backyard, keep doing what you're doing. This is the best thing you can do. But if you want to have a way to get rid of those meat, bones, and dairy items, if you happen to eat those, you can also participate in our municipal program. I'll get more into that. And then finally, Rhinebeck is historically an agricultural community, so we feel like this really makes sense. It's kind of a back to the land movement to turn this waste into a resource that helps build the soil and creates a closed loop system here locally. Okay, goal and the grant. Our vision statement, this was developed in 2021 when we did a feasibility study with the Pollution Reduction Institute. And it says, as part of a climate smart effort, the Village of Rhinebeck's engaging and effective public food scrap diversion program will reduce greenhouse gases at landfills and will build healthy soil, ultimately becoming a model for others in our region. And that remains our vision. The goal is to create a program that 100% of village residents can take part in if they so choose. Realistically, we're hoping for about 15% of the population to be our early adopters, and then we'll work towards more and more participation as the program grows. Right now, we actually have over 100 households signed up, and that's really thrilling news. The village received a $200,000 grant for the creation of this program that requires a 20% match. The New York State program does encourage municipalities to work with farms as subcontractors, and reimbursements can be for village purchases towards the project as well as the farm's purchases towards the project. So we anticipate that we'll be able to not have this project be a financial burden on the village. Our agreement with the farm. Ellerslie Stables is a 500-acre horse farm located in Rhinecliff. They did respond to our RFP. They have already been composting horse manure and used bedding already, so this is kind of adding to their process. You can see the blue dot here in the middle of their this whole lot, this parcel as well as this one is all the farm. So it's a very large piece of property. No one can see the composting from the street. Very far removed from any neighbors who might be upset. Here you can see we did a visit. This is the compost task force, and Michael DeCola here is the owner of the farm. This is his existing operation, where the manure and the bedding is actually manually turned with a tractor, and it's approximately a 9-month throughput to create finished compost. Towards the end of the process, it's screened, and then it could be spread on his fields to regenerate the soil. And in our program, participants will actually be able to get a share of the finished compost if they so choose. So this is a bit of a timeline here. In September, we did a DEC training, and in October, we purchased a dumpster or container that will be the collection vessel for the food scraps. We're now just purchasing some lidded buckets that participants can opt in for. And then in December, we'll be installing additional machinery and equipment at the site to make it an ASP site. And I'll get more into what ASP is. We plan to launch the program in January, so get those New Year's resolutions for no food waste going. So ASP stands for Aerated Static Pile. This is basically a technique to force air through the piles of compost material using these blowers. So here you can see this is a blower. It's hooked up to a system of pipes, and then the pipes run through the bottom of these bays. And these pipes here that are set in have little holes, they're perforated, and that forces oxygenation up through the pile. What this does is it actually makes the microbes really happy, and it heats the pile up to about 130 to 140 degrees. The heat of the pile, like literally if you dig in, put your hand into the center, not even like a foot into the pile, it could burn you, it's that hot. Wow. That reduces odor, and the vermin, mice and stuff don't like to get in there if it's that hot. And keeping the microbes happy means that the throughput, so the rate at which this material is degrading, is sped up to about 9 weeks. So the farm is very excited for this process because it's going to mean he's going to be able to shrink those huge piles of manure. So the DEC grant stipulates that the agreement must last the useful life of the ASP system, which is around 7 years. So that's how long our contract with the farm is for. The village is going to own and be responsible for the ASP machinery, the collection containers, signage at the drop-off site, the registration piece of participants, and education and training of participants, and then we get the share of the finished compost for participants. Ellerslie Stables owns and is responsible for the labor involved with the production of compost, the utility costs of running those blower fans, the land of the site of the compost area, the screening the compost, the tractors and equipment, and the hook lift truck and hauling of the food scraps from the drop-off site back to the farm, and the bulk of the finished compost. So here's how it's going to work for you all, our residents. We did do a pilot program with 100 households. They paid a small monthly fee to participate. This program, the permanent program, will be free. We did learn from our pilot that we received less food scraps than anticipated, and I think that's probably due to the small household size in Rhinebeck. Our household size is on average 2.2 people rather than large families. We did get 0 complaints about vermin or odor, which was great. We did once in a while find that people put in accidentally produce stickers, twist ties, or those bioplastics, which actually are a little bit of greenwashing. Those don't break down, unfortunately. So we're going to do more education around those items. But we found overall no abuse of the drop-off bins that you can see here. We didn't find any household trash in those, which was good. And then actually only a quarter of the participants wanted finished compost at the end of the process. We did have to help participants understand that with this aerated static pile system, you can effectively compost meat, bones, and dairy. You can't do that in a backyard composting situation, and so that was a little bit confusing for folks. And again, those bioplastics and compostable containers, unfortunately, we can't accept those, and people are frustrated by that, reasonably so. Some folks tried it, they didn't love it because of the yuck factor. You are dealing with some grody food scraps, there's no way about it. No way around it. But many folks, most folks, I think got into the habit of separating their food scraps, and they couldn't imagine going back to just trashing those food scraps. It just felt wrong after they started doing it. Overall, the final pilot survey found that 80% wanted to make the program permanent, and 13% that maybe they would like to. Maybe they were thinking about the price that we charged for the pilot. Okay, so our launch plan involves participant onboarding. The program will start in the new year, but you can pre-register now. The form to register is live on the website. You can see this little green button here that says register. When you fill out the form to register, I double check to make sure you're a village resident, because right now we're just taking village residents as participants. We are developing a quiz and some education, and once you pass that, you will get a code to unlock the collection container. This bucket that you see here on the slide is the complimentary lidded bucket that you can opt in to get, and when those are in, we'll let you know, and you can come pick it up at Village Hall. So right now we're working on tips and education, social media, and neighborhood ambassadors that can help spread the word about this program. So again, you can pre-register now. It's going to be a free program, and we plan to launch in the new year. Unfortunately, curbside pickup is not in scope. That would be how we would get to 100% participation, right? If we could come and pick it up, how we pick up, or how you get your garbage and your recycling picked up, but unfortunately that's out of scope for the village at this time. So the biggest challenge is for people to bring their food scraps to a drop-off site. but we tried to make that as convenient for you as possible. The dumpster will be located in the municipal parking lot. This is like Arroy, you know, so the part of the municipal parking lot that's behind Arroy, there's a little farmer's market shed, and this is where that collection dumpster or container will be located. It'll be there 24/7, so at your convenience, you can drop off whenever you like. We will have some lighting, we will have a trail cam. We like this spot because it's out of the flow of the police and the fire departments, where we had the pilot containers over here in a smaller municipal parking lot. It was a little bit too tight with those emergency vehicles sometimes needing to exit very quickly. This is what the dumpster will look like. This is the same kind that we've ordered. This is a dumpster specifically designed for food scraps. This is for the Rockland County food scrap program. You can see here on this. So it will have these doors that will be locked. Participants will get the code to unlock them. And the reason we're locking it is we want to prevent any folks dumping household garbage in there, because that would really ruin the whole load. If you do get caught dumping, you get in trouble. You get a $250 littering ticket. One other note, this will have a bed of shavings already in there to start soaking up some of the food waste goop. So next steps. We're working on the aerostatic pile installation at the farm, and that dumpster is being built for us. We have reached out to local high school students in the Interact Club to work with us on creating a training video, a how-to video, how to participate. And stay tuned as we continue to promote this new program. It's very exciting. Please tell your neighbors. And we hope at some point to be able to expand to town residents as well. Thank you. Any questions or anything?
One question?
Yeah.
Brown paper bags, can they be composted?
Oh yes, the one acceptable non-food item that you can put in is you can line your bucket with a piece of newspaper or a brown paper bag. And we do recommend that, because then when you come to drop it off at the collection site, you can plop the whole thing in there, including the newspaper or the brown paper bag. We also do take coffee filters and tea bags, as long as they're paper, not synthetic. Good question. Yes?
I have a question. If you use the horse bedding as cat litter, will that be accepted, since he's doing the horse bedding already?
No, the cat litter, that's a really good question. Thank you, Susanna. So we don't accept.
It's so much cheaper than cat litter.
So now we're talking poop. Okay, let's just say it. We're talking animal poop. We don't accept dog or cat poop or litter. We can take the horse manure and bedding. I think it basically comes down to the fact that those animals are vegetarian versus not.
Okay.
Thanks for that question. Yeah.
How will people know that they signed up successfully? Because I was asked that. They signed up and then they didn't hear back.
Yep, when you sign up, within a week, I send out a registration confirmation. So it just takes a little time. I'm not doing it on the daily, but it should be within 1 week. Any questions? All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Nobody else needs those, right?
Okay, time for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make a public comment? Please raise your hand, I'll identify you. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Hearing none, I'm going to close the public comment section. Karen, you're up.
Do I have lunch tonight? Are we
Okay.
good? Do I again? Can I take you back? Oh, this is too much. No, it's not a big deal. Karen was trying to figure out how to have her treasurer's report on the screen
Yeah,
while
we
she's
talked
talking
about
about it, so I'm just gonna do that real quick.
Next meeting, we're gonna focus on doing that. Unless you wanna do it now, you're gonna cast it.
That is that casting.
Quick and easy.
So this pretty easy.
Casting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, almost.
Something like that.
Apple makes it easy, theoretically, as it's, the wheel of death is spinning. I need to be closer.
I'll go ahead and start.
Okay, great.
Okay, so the treasurer's report is for the period ending October 31st. The general fund ended the month with $87,709.17. The water fund ended the month with $109,824.50. And the sewer fund ended the month with $117,963.39. Vouchers presented for payment. In the general fund, total $114,143.06. In the water fund, $37,444.67. In the sewer fund, $39,526.58. We had escrow bills totaling $6,183.75. We had a bill for the compost facility for $11,715. For the water plant improvement project, $58.19. For the wastewater treatment plant and sewer upgrade, $4,937.40. Would you like to make a motion to pay the bills?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the vouchers.
Second.
Discussion. I really want to talk about the Grant compost facility. The $11,715 bill that we got. So what is the process for getting reimbursement? I don't remember.
Yeah, we have a process with the DEC where we email them our vouchers and a summary of how the money has been spent. We can,
And I believe proof of payment,
Mhm.
that, like our canceled check.
Yeah, and we can do that as whenever we wish, or we could do it quarterly. I was figuring, once we get these first expenses taken care of, that Karen and I would sit down and write it all up and submit it to the DEC.
So to do that, then we need to transfer some money, right? Karen?
Yeah, we had
So we
discussed
don't-
borrowing from,
We have to borrow money from ourselves to pay the bills.
yeah,
Because I thought the original, what I remember when we talked about this, we didn't need to set up a cash flow. And so we would automatically just submit the bills and get reimbursed, and then we could pay the bill. But what you're telling me is you don't want to do that.
Well, I think we need to show them that we paid the bill.
Do
So
we?
it's a reimbursable
yeah,
grant?
it's a reimbursement
It
grant.
is a reimbursement
So
grant.
I was just, what we could do is when I do my budget amendments, we could agree to transfer $20,000 from the general fund to the compost facility. And then when we get our reimbursement, we'll pay the general fund back. And the reason I'm saying 20 is because we have 11, and then we have next month we'll have another bill coming.
So at someday we'll be able to reconcile and be at zero because we don't want to borrow money from ourselves and keep it in there because we have the grant to do it.
Correct.
That's my goal.
That's correct.
So I don't want to spend our cash if we're getting reimbursed and then end up with $20,000 at the end of the day that we just been carrying for this.
So we'll just do from general for $20,000, and as soon as that first reimbursement comes back in,
Okay.
we'll pay the general fund back.
Yeah,
Nice thing is all this happening mid-year, so we
Is-
don't have to worry
Is
about it.
Yeah.
20 grand enough to keep us afloat, to do this on a regular basis?
And I asked.
That's the question.
Well, I know that it's gonna get us through this month and next month, right? Because we have the 11,000 now, and then we have the containers, I think is 3,900, so
Yep.
we just estimated 20.
And then your expenses go way down. Then your expenses go way down.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, we still have expenses
No,
associated
there's
with
a,
the
then they
farm.
go up.
No, not true. We have 200,000.
I don't have, so yesterday we actually met at the site with, we got some free consulting from the state, which is nice, so that takes $10,000 off the budget, which is great. But he's writing up a proposed budget for the specific ASP equipment that we want to purchase. So I don't have those numbers right now, I just have my estimation, but I'd rather give Karen those exact numbers.
I agree, but the question is, are we gonna pay for, we have to upfront the money, so it's a cash flow. We, the village, have to agree to pay all this in advance and then get reimbursed. And that's, make sure that it's a cash flow issue, that's all I'm making sure everybody's aware of.
I mean, it's a cash flow, like, thing, but issue implies that that means that that would cause a problem for us with cash flow, and I don't think that's the case at all.
Yeah, maybe issues are over, it's a cash flow.
Consideration.
Process.
Consideration,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're all aware, that's what I'm making sure.
But by the time we get to some of the other expenses, maybe we'll get reimbursed, or does it take longer than that for the first one?
We
Yeah,
cyclical.
but I'm just wondering if so it isn't like we're just out 200,000 or something.
You know, I would want to say that the state would be speedy in reimbursing
Yeah, no,
us,
I'm
but
not asking you to guarantee.
But we'll know, I mean, like,
We'll
you'll submit a
We'll
reimbursement
do
for
this
the,
first cycle.
for this 11,000,
Yeah.
and then see how it goes.
Yep.
Okay,
That's-
all right.
yep.
Wait,
want-
we made a vote
Oh,
on the vouchers. All in favor of that?
Wait, is you gonna add the amendment for the,
Do you want to do that? I've got some budget amendments, but.
Yeah, well, no, we're gonna approve the vouchers first. We have
Yeah.
a motion and a second on the
for the
vouchers.
vouchers, not the amendments, okay.
Just like-
So we had discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, water and sewer, the November monthly bills went out in the water for $28,508.33, in the sewer for $35,055.88, and those are due November 27th. Adjustments were signed off by Mayor Bassett and are presented for approval.
And make a motion to accept the water and sewer adjustments as presented.
second?
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so I was just gonna go through all of the budget amendments and then,
Those over there too?
hmm,
Don't those over there too?
sure. Okay, so the first one is to increase the 1324 line item for accounting, and that's for the increased financial assistance for bank recs, capital projects, and transfers in and out. And that would be the general fund, 4,500, the water and sewer fund, 2,500 each. The general fund would come from contingency, water and sewer would come from their New York class accounts. This is the next one, which kind of falls in the same category as, or similar category to the compost facility. The compost facility will be just an inter-fund loan from the general. The Safe Routes to School, so I'm just trying to kind of get these accounts set up so that we don't start getting bills in where we don't have anything in that account. So I don't know if you want to do the same thing for the Safe Routes to School, or just allocate the New York, 10,000 from the New York class FEMA money to the Safe Routes to School and reduce that from whatever ban or bond you're gonna take out. So however you guys want to do it.
So someplace we have to take out a note for Safe Route to School, right?
Yeah, at some
And that's
point.
gonna be early next year?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll start,
Right.
right now, the expenses start to accrue probably sometime right after the first of this year.
Okay.
That's the engineering.
So we have to budget for those anyway. You know, the plan when we did the budget was to take a note out for that, a ban,
Right,
and allocate that money and
right.
take it up. So the question is now, is what Karen proposes, do you want to put 10,000 in now and reduce the ban later, you know, by that amount, or do you want to?
Or, yeah, or even 50 and then just, because the New York class FEMA still has a lot of money in there.
Right.
If you wanted to do 50, we would just do a a ban or a bond for 350.
So what we don't know, Rick, is, again, kind of like compost, similar, we don't know the frequency of expenses to be able to make sure we have the cash in the account to
Right.
pay the bill.
Understood, no, understood. I mean, I think it's worth seeding the account with 50 because we may start receiving some initial invoices. And then we have it, we're ready to go, and then we can develop our ban when the big numbers hit.
Right.
Could we potentially pay back the ban, could we potentially pay back that 50 with the ban?
Or just not.
Well,
now.
either
I mean, we
that-
don't have to ban for all of it, but the point of that question was, I think that we need to have a conversation about how we're gonna spend the excess fund balance. And so just like chipping away at it without like an overall plan seems short-sighted.
But that's what we're doing right now.
Well, that's the point of my story, is that like, you know, I don't think we should take out a ban now for $50,000,
No.
but like, you
No,
No,
know.
not.
Yeah, but if we take $50,000 out of it, then could we still take the ban for 400, repay the 50, you know, just like, do you know what I
I
mean?
think we need to have, as you said,
Yeah.
at some point, Rick, I'm gonna push this onto you.
Mhm.
We need to understand the expense timeline, all right? So that
Right.
we can have a discussion,
Yep,
right? Because I know, looking at the report, it's gonna start early next year.
yes,
We're gonna accrue expenses.
yes.
So maybe next meeting in December, it'd be good to have a
Okay.
timeline. It's in the report, by the
Yeah.
way.
So, yes, I mean, the second step is however you, the board, would like to proceed.
So the question is, we don't have to do this tonight if we don't want to, because we don't have an expense
I
right
just
now.
created the account. for
But you
savings.
need money to set up the account?
No, I don't. I just wanna.
If I open up with a bank, they make me put $5 in.
No, I don't think $5.
Do we get a toaster?
But I'm just, okay, so I created the account where January is 3 months away. It's kind of the same with the DEC grant. I just want to make sure that we don't get an engineering bill or something that we don't have the funds in there. But if you want to table it, that's fine also.
I'd like to see the expense timeline,
Okay,
so that
Okay,
we can understand, and maybe it's, I don't want to do 10 today and we need 50.
fair enough,
I'd rather make
Okay.
sure that we have a plan, if everybody's okay with that.
fair enough.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Also, do you think that we can have a conversation about how to spend that fund balance?
I think we should start having that conversation about some
Like
of that.
what the number is and how we think the best way to handle it, because I still think it would be total non sequitur, but creating like a vehicle fund so that we don't have to borrow for vehicles and instead we just pay for them out of cash.
You're trying to get your tips in now? before
Totally,
you have the
yeah,
budget.
I gotta like anchor somewhere, I'm anchoring the
so
conversation.
I do agree with her because we do need to solidify the reserve accounts that we
Right.
brought up last time. Whether
Yeah.
you want them for specific
Exactly.
equipment or whether you want them for general purpose.
And that's probably more important is going forward. Sorry, we're having a big financial discussion here. Going forward, we need to redefine our reserve accounts,
Right.
okay?
I-
And I think, my opinion, we should do that first, to define what our reserve accounts for, how they're set up, and kind of move away from these capital accounts
Yep, I
and
agree.
have reserve accounts. So I would like to do that before we do anything.
Okay.
I think it's important to understand that portion of it.
And just a little FYI, I did start doing a drawdown for the fund balance. And next month, it's gonna be part of my regular monthly report.
Oh, nice.
So just,
Some of them are just like
so
this.
All right.
one question. So in setting up this new set of definitions, that's gonna be pre our upcoming budget season?
Yeah, 'cause we
At
can
the
do
first thing, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because then going into the budget season, we'll have the reserve accounts
Right.
defined.
And you'll define them and then allocate what's in those capital accounts to that account, and then whatever additional the board sees fit.
I have some thoughts on how we should set them up, and so
Okay.
I want to have that discussion.
All right, so I'll table the Safe Routes to School transfer. We already discussed a interfund loan from the general to the compost facility for $20,000 for working capital. And then the only other one was just the streets equipment. They went over budget for that striping machine by $2,000, and we're just gonna move that from their .4 account. And those are the budget amendments.
So moved.
Second. Any other discussion?
That's
All in
fine.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, purchase requests.
You're welcome.
First thing on the purchase request line item is Lexipol. So to give everybody an overview, the board has already seen this. Lexipol is another organization. We currently use them with our police department. And what they do with our police department is they took our handbook, which is our policy and procedures handbook for the police department, and brought that up to current state levels so that we knew we were current in terms of how we were executing on policies in terms of the police. Lexipol has now, they also do fire departments, but they also do municipal organizations. So what they're good at doing and what they're, the phone call that I got that I then transferred to Martina to look at was they're very good at legislation. So when New York State is passing new legislation, we get an update, they get an update on it, they can review our policy, they can make that policy conform to the New York State standard. It's already been vetted and legal, and we can then put that on our agenda to approve. Second thing they do is they look at what we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know. So they're very good at telling us what we don't know. They're very good at saying, we've now reviewed your portfolio, you are missing this group of things, which it could be legislation and our policies. They're very good at and then helping us then adopt those policies so that we're conforming to all the state standards that we need to do. Third thing that they do and they do very well is training. They keep track of training records for us. So if there's a new policy that comes out, let's just call it, I don't know, could be hazmat training. Or what's some of the ones we do?
Sexual harassment.
Sexual harassment, whatever. They keep those things standard for us. They release the course, and now all of our employees, including us here, can take those courses, and we can take them online and take the quizzes and make sure that we pass. But then at the end of the day, they keep a record of who did and who didn't, which is very important for us to make sure that also we are keeping everybody up to date with what's going on. Martina, did I miss anything high level there? Do you have any comment to say?
Basically that it'll streamline our process and make it much more efficient for us.
Again, it's like adding efficiency to our organization. So the cost of this is roughly $3,400 plus another, what was it, 400? I didn't pull it up yet. I'm sorry.
3,200 plus 430.
Plus 400.
Yeah.
Right, thank you.
Yep.
So I'd like to make a motion to pass the Lexipol purchase agreement
Second.
and now discussion.
So I was part of the Zoom presentation, and what I was honestly mostly impressed by, really impressed by with their handbook stuff, is they literally just had like, these are all of the policies that you need, and it was just like little check marks next to them, and like you can fill them out, whatever your travel policy is, whatever your reimbursement policy is, all the rest of it, but like the reality of what you need, like this is how you should phrase it, and some of them are really like, we have to make some decisions and put some information in, but some of them are just straight up like, the state of New York now requires every municipality to have a lactation policy. We had no idea that we had to have a lactation policy. And so it just like adds in, that kind of stuff. Some of them are even flagged, required by law. Some of them are good best practices. Some of them are, you should think about this, but you don't necessarily have to do it. And they update everything for us every year, every time law is changed and all the rest of it. So it takes the Lydia, will you draft this? Or Vanessa, will you draft that? Or Martina, will you go to the clerk from somewhere else and get their handbook and then we can just copy it? It kind of takes that part out of it and it just has it all be, something that we know is real and appropriate and will pass not just the laugh test, but the legal test. And, you know, Martina can just literally go through it with a few clicks, and then we just have a series of decisions to make, and then it's done. And that's what I was mostly impressed by, because Martina and I have been literally talking about this since I came on the board, and it's always been the thing that it's like, well, we have 9,000 other things to do, so we'll get to that when we get to that, and if we just keep doing that, then we're never gonna get to it, but this is super duper important for us and our employees. So that's what I really liked about it, was that it was just the centralized database. And just a few clicks and some decisions, and then we can be done.
Any other questions?
I just want to make a comment that people in the public might not realize, but it's a problem because we can't all just as a board get together and view these, because then we're in violation of the open meetings law.
Right.
So that's why, for example, Lydia was in on this conversation, this presentation, but it makes it hard for me to make an informed decision until I hear this. So I'm just wondering if we couldn't maybe just come up with I don't want a 20-page report or anything like that, but just some sort of one-page thing that this is, you know, this is what we looked at, or these are the 2 or 3 things we looked at. This is what it's going to do, and this is how it's going to save us money, or maybe even this isn't going to save us money, but it's going to add some value to something that, like you said, we didn't even maybe think that we needed, but now we realize that it would be helpful. And something like that would just make it so much easier to you know, make a quick comparison and, you know, not come in here like, you know, what, you know, what questions do I even ask, or, you know, I mean, I went in and talked to Martina, so then I felt comfortable, but, you know, I just think it might be good to have some kind of process like that. How many employees are doing this, like for payroll, you know, how many employees are working on this, you know, 30 hours a month, now we can cut it to 5 or something, you know, then people understand why we're willing to spend that kind of money for these programs, and I think that would be helpful for us too, is to make a better decision.
Fair point.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do it.
Martina, thank you for your help.
Can I just add that we're going to, for this first year, take that on contingency?
Ah, good point.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we talked about
Do you
that.
need a motion for that?
Yes.
Motion to take that, whatever it is, from contingency?
Second.
The cost of this contract from contingency?
Who's second?
Eleanor.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one is police body armor. So as everybody aware, we do have a police department. Our police department does have body armor, and their body armor does expire, and we do plan on this. So it's now time to renew and get new body armor, right? And so one of the things, this is $11,973.94. But I want to make you aware that 50% of this is covered by the grant that we get from the state. The other 50% we budgeted for when we went through the budget process. So this is a lot of numbers we went through, but we did budget for this expense, and now it's time to make that expense. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of new body armor for $11,973.94.
Second,
Discussion.
this is state contract pricing.
Correct. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Resolutions. I'm going to turn it now to, I don't know, your turn. Vanessa.
Okay, so I have a resolution here to post an RFP for the police department building's HVAC system. This is an RFP that we worked on in collaboration with the folks at NYSERDA, because we will be using a grant, another reimbursement grant actually, or a $50,000 reimbursement grant combined with a $10,000 grant that we already have the check for
Right,
that.
so I was gonna move the 10,000 from the general, which I've been holding on to it, into that newly established account for the police HVAC,
Great.
and that'll be our working account.
Great, okay. So there's a resolution here. Basically, I guess I'll just read it, it's short. Whereas the village board intends to replace fossil fuel heating, cooling, and hot water equipment at the village police building, along with electrical work to enable the upgrade and create an additional 200 amp service for electrical vehicle charging stations. Whereas the village has received $60,000 in grant funding through participation in NYSERDA's Clean Energy Communities Program, which would cover the full extent of the project. And whereas Trustee Bertozzi has drafted an RFP based on best practices for similar projects funded by NYSERDA grants. Now therefore be it resolved that the village board approves the RFP for the project, and let it be further resolved that the village board agrees that proposals shall be due to the village clerk, Martina McClinton, by 4 p.m. on TBD. How long should we post it for? Or I'd like to make a motion, and we'll
To adopt.
Make a motion to adopt.
make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Yeah.
And discussion, how long do you think we should keep this up for?
So November 12th.
And do we want to make a decision before the December board meeting?
That'd be great, yeah.
Is that enough time?
With Thanksgiving.
Well, that would,
With Thanksgiving.
With Thanksgiving?
that
Yeah,
would
we're
put you
like
at
rushing.
the 27th. Because we're not here the 28th, 29th, and then I don't know how long you want
Yeah.
to decide.
Oh, and we're definitely not having the second
Meeting.
meeting in December, because that's Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
Um,
So you could do it like you could do it the 4th.
Not quick enough? Is that too
December
much?
4th is a Wednesday. We meet again on December 10th. You could do December 6th, which is a Friday. And
Does
if
that
we
give you
don't,
enough time to look
and
at
if we
it?
don't get anything, then extend it.
Oh, right.
yeah, let's do December
6th is a
Six.
Friday.
Does that matter that I'm not here?
On the 6th?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to go on
I
vacation.
know.
Just stamp it and put it on
Okay.
your desk.
Okay.
What, are you accepting them till then, or are you opening them then?
Maybe accept them on then, until then?
Yeah, accept them until the 6th.
And
And
then
that only gives us a couple days to work with engineering and turn them around.
you still have to,
These could
dec-
be,
you
these
still have to
could
decide
be-
when you open them too, though.
these could be complicated, as we've discussed.
Right.
I worked very diligently with Vanessa on preparing the RFP and making sure the draft language was there from a technical standpoint.
Yeah.
And what's important here for the board to know is that there's many ways to build a better mousetrap. And we have to make sure that the proposal we come in, and hopefully based on the RFP, they're coming in to meet that technical description, but there's many ways to do it. And we're gonna need Ty and Bond to do that evaluation for us from a technical standpoint. They reviewed our RFP to make sure that, information is coming in, they could then sort it out. So
With
I wanna give us
previous-
enough time.
With previous RFPs, if you want, you could do Tuesday, accept it until Tuesday at noon, do the bid opening that day, and then give them those few days to gather the information that they need.
All right. So Tuesday, December 3rd, or,
Yeah,
okay,
Happy Thanksgiving.
you good with that?
yeah.
I had a question in the RFP itself.
Mm-hmm.
You were asking for bids on a 40 or 50 gallon water tank, electric, but it's still a tank. I was surprised that you weren't asking for a tankless heater. Was there like a reason
Yeah,
for
we're
that?
using an air source heat pump, hot water system
And you can't,
versus a tankless water system. And we looked, and the tankless didn't apply to because the electrical drive didn't apply to the grant.
oh, this is me not understanding
Yeah.
how that works. Okay,
So we're using a tankless system, a air source,
so an air source system has to have a tank?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
learn something every day. Okay,
They're pretty efficient, they work well.
cool. No argument. I had no idea.
Is there a time limit on that grant?
What?
Is there a time limit using that grant or anything?
Yeah, there's a time frame. We're working within it. We're good. Yeah.
So essentially what's gonna happen is when these come in, Vanessa and I will sit down with tie and bond and review to make sure they meet the demands that we want to do and technically meet the requirements that we spec'd out.
So I'm including that the bid opening will also be at noon that day.
That's fine. You're good with that?
Yeah.
So do we have a second? You want to make a motion to accept them on December 3rd?
I have the motion.
What?
I seconded.
Thank you.
Yep. If all you need knows. Vote.
And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Excuse me, I worked on it too.
Thank you, Gary.
Yes, thank you, Gary.
Should I go gold star?
All right, so historic railing. Rick.
Okay. So, for those who are not familiar, we have an historic bridge that crosses the Landsman Kill at Route 9. And there was a set of railings there for the pedestrian bridge that had been there since about 1898. And unfortunately, they were mangled in a automobile accident back in 2023. In the meantime, the state is actually about to going to be replacing the bridge down there. So the New York State Department of Historic Preservation, working with the Historic Department of New York State Department of Transportation, agreed that they would actually restore the railings for us if we were willing to display them someplace in the vicinity. So New York State DOT has come forward with what they're calling a conceptual plan, which really just means a sketch on top of a photograph, to fix the railings, reinstall them at the Legion Park, basically at the area, the sidewalk comes in and there's a walkway up to the World War I monument, and it would be right there at the junction of the sidewalk and the walkway to the World War I monument. It would have a little plaque to explain to people that these gates were, or these railings were fabricated in Croton back in 1898, and they've been with the village since then. Yeah.
That was very cool.
So right now, we just need to have a resolution that we agree to the concept of this plan. They'll be working with us and our representatives to get in the language we want for the sign, coloration, size, sign size, that kind of stuff. But they have to, the grants, their grants are federal, so they have to make this as part of their agreement with the federal government. So they asked us to go ahead and make a resolution. So the resolution here, skip the preamble, the board agrees that New York State Department of Transportation should implement this conceptual plan and continue to develop detailed plans in cooperation with the village and its representatives. That's the action part of the resolution. Any questions, Trevor?
Make a motion.
Make a motion. I move that.
Second.
Any discussion?
I think this is great. They're willing to restore our mangled,
That's so cool.
railings and put them somewhere at no cost to us.
It's really great because they don't want us to bear any of the expense
Right.
of doing any of the work associated with this railings. They want to make sure it's part of the bridge project, and when it gets completed, it'll be completed by them as part of the overall plan for replacing the bridge and doing this. And they don't want us to be encumbered with any of the costs.
Which is fantastic. I'll also mention that in my conversation with the historic office at DOT, they were very complimentary of the World War I monument that we have down there. Recommended removing a tree, but they were very sensitive to the fact that they did not want to encroach on the monument itself. So they wanted to make sure that we could put this someplace where people would see it, it would be used, but it would still leave the monument with its full dignity. So that was important to them as well. So just mention that.
I think as part of the ongoing discussion, I just want to make sure that it's kind of a discreet entrance. I mean, it's very nice, but I don't want it to be like showy or like a big sign or anything.
I think in general, the thing about the railings is that they're no longer meet any safety requirements. So they're decorative for decorative purposes only. So basically they would form a decorative entrance at the beginning of the sidewalk, there'd be a plaque, and then you could continue on to the.
I think her suggestion was the size of the sign.
Right.
And what they're talking about, Eleanor, was they actually found an example of what the sign was like originally, and they want to try to model that sign, which was,
Well, that's a little different, that's for the bridge itself.
on the railings too. That's what I was told. That's what they told me.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they told me that they actually, the same sign, they want to be able to,
Oh, okay.
so.
Okay, well, they did ask for us.
Would it be like one of those sort of like historic marker kind of?
No,
stuff?
it'd be, I think, low and less
Oh.
intrusive.
Might even
Okay,
be,
well, that's even better.
might even be affixed to the railing.
Got it.
Right.
It's not gonna be a billboard.
Yeah, well,
Right.
just the picture, I was staring at the picture, trying to figure out,
And
some of those can be obtrusive, but if we keep it kind of,
well, that's why I wanted to point out that they were concerned with maintaining the aesthetics of the memorial that's there. That was actually part of their thinking.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So passed. Rick, you're still up.
Okay, so for this piece, we have what municipalities consider to be a situation. And
An issue? Are we
yeah,
having an
yes,
issue?
the situation is that the Dutchess County Board of Health has a set of water maps for our water distribution system. And the water maps do not detail any of the distribution system outside of the village.
Oh, has this been part of this Grassmere chaos?
Correct.
Oh, gosh. yeah.
So what's happening is that, long story short, we would be asking Ty and Bond to bring up to date the village water system map outside the village, so it conforms with the reality, and then we get that map permitted by by the Dutchess County Department of Health.
New York State.
New York State Department of Health, excuse me. New York State Department of Health. So basically, this is a move to make the paperwork conform to reality.
And be paid for
And be paid for by Grassmere.
Oh, great.
Right,
That's the part I was missing.
That's the kicker. So the idea is nothing, this is a type 2 action, nothing is being modified, nothing is being changed, nothing new, no new distribution is being added to this. It's to just figure out, to correctly map and permit what we actually have been doing for many, many, many years, at least since the 60s.
It's great.
This should have gone to the Department of Health years ago when the modifications were made. It just never made it there, for whatever reasons.
so when that is done, will there be just one big district, there be other
This
districts?
is nothing, this is not part of the districting, this is
Okay.
just creating a permitted map of where the water
What it
lines
is,
go,
okay.
and who gets it, which parcels, that kind of stuff, not unrelated to the other districting sections.
Okay.
So,
Has Grassmere agreed to pay for this?
yes, they've agreed to pay for it, it's part of their escrow.
Okay.
So the resolution's giving all the other stuff to go before. Basically, it authorizes the mayor to apply to the DEC for a permit modification to include the map of a true representation of the water supply service areas within the town. And the second part of it, we authorize the mayor to retain Ty and Bond to assist in submitting the application and to represent the village in obtaining the permit. And that's what it's for. Once again, this is all being done through the Grassmere escrow account, because it was their needs that triggered this event.
Great. Second? Or did you make a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, second.
discussion. Karen, you have a
I
question?
just have a question. So do they have an anticipated cost of this not to exceed a certain amount?
Yes, that's already been negotiated between Ty and Bond and Grassmere as part of the escrow
Can
setup.
we request that escrow prior to them?
We have, they have, yes. They have refilled that account. Ty and Bond has given them an estimate. So yeah, we're
I think your question relates to our keeping of the escrow. And so,
I just want to make sure that we're not chasing it,
correct.
right.
that's all. That
Right.
we're not chasing it
So-
after the bill, after it's already been spent.
The current agreement with Grassmere 2 is that once the escrow gets to 3,000, they have to replenish it.
And we want to make sure,
And we put a stop work order when the minute
Right.
that happens?
but we also want to make sure, just working with Ty and Bond, to make sure that you know, there's a overlap, that's a lag between the time they bill for their work
Correct.
and what we have, and so basically closing that gap.
So we
having-
don't ever get to where.
Right.
We were.
That's right.
Yes.
No, we had that discussion with Brandy, and so
Exactly.
the discussion is, yes,
But-
we are
but-
anticipating this
Right.
much more work. The escrow is getting down towards this, it's time to refill.
But are we, like, can we refill it for the cost of that?
Well, the way
You
the
can
escrow
only
is
fill it up
written
to
is
the
set,
amount
is
of
set to a
escrow.
trigger, yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Do you
an
know
escrow
the
account. The way it was set up, there's an escrow account, a certain dollar volume,
Right.
and then a threshold trigger. If it
Okay.
goes to $3,000, then it needs to get
What
refilled.
is
So is there
Raspberry's
any-
escrow max?
It's 10 with a 3, at 3 with threshold.
Okay.
So is there any rough estimate of what this would cost?
Yes, that was, I don't have, I could pull it up, I think it was about $5,000.
That was just a question, to just make sure that we don't,
Well, then let's make sure that it's above 3,000. Let's make sure it's above this before we pull the trigger
It
off.
already is.
Okay.
Yes, no, so as part of this pre-negotiation, Grassmere brought their escrow account current.
Great.
Remember we discussed last month where I said it would be nice if we had task orders in advance, so we knew what the escrow accounts were gonna be
Right,
budgeted? And you all said, oh, no, we don't need
Well,
that.
because we can do it in 4
but
months.
that's my question is.
Now you're asking the same question.
Right.
Well, this is just, making sure that the administrative side is
Yes.
sort of on top of things, like,
Yes, no, we
how
had,
much of this has to be handled legislatively versus administratively.
All right.
but I was gonna say, we had a discussion with Time Bond, Grassmere, and internally to make sure that this works better this time.
Great.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're
You're
just.
finished?
Have a nice night.
have a
Good night, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
Yeah.
So as part of our work with the Climate Action Planning Institute, we've been working on climate adaptation planning. And I am proposing that we do a survey to all village residents to get some feedback on the climate impacts that we are now seeing. And we expect to see more, unfortunately. So I'd like to make a motion to post this survey using the village's Microsoft Forms.
Second.
On through the Village of Rhinebeck Climate Smart site.
Yeah, and I would ask that Martina would send it out as well through the main village channels.
And the responses go back to,
The
if we email them out or send it out manually, who do the responses go to? Or is it gonna be a click on the website to take it, you get
Yeah,
it?
it's an
So
online form.
there won't be a paper form, is what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, Vanessa,
All right.
what would you like feedback on? What is this, what's it for?
The survey is asking
for
for
feedback on what?
Climate adaptation planning.
Thank you.
And just so everybody knows, there's no paper form,
Right. This
it's
is
all electronic.
online form.
I don't think we need a motion for this, this is just
Yeah,
communication,
okay.
all right?
Any discussion on it?
I think this is great.
Well, you could still motion, what's your due date?
What?
You could still motion and set a due date.
I'd let her be flexible, I don't think you need to have a motion to.
Do you just want to keep it out
You
there?
did for
Yeah.
previous surveys.
Collect results.
Yeah.
All right, let's be flexible with this one.
That's just-
I mean, my idea was to have it go up this week and then have the deadline, maybe, right after Thanksgiving break. And I'd do like another little nudge during Thanksgiving break.
And what are we going to use that for?
So we're drafting a climate adaptation plan. So this is part of the public engagement side of that. You may recall we did a workshop with some older adults in collaboration with the town to get their feedback as a particularly vulnerable group. This survey, I think it also serves the purpose of educating the public, honestly. I think, a lot of the material in here, I'm anticipating everyone's like, yes, this is important, yes, this is important. But I think to see it all written down and to see the challenges that we will be facing as a community is I hope it raises awareness as well.
So you do have a motion on the table. Would you like to either withdraw it or?
I'll
or
withdraw
vote?
it.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, the next step is that I would incorporate the results into the draft of the climate adaptation plan and bring that back to the board for review. So that will be another lovely report for y'all to read in the coming months.
Thank you,
I mean, I don't have any particular objection to it, just a comment that
Yeah.
it seems to lead you into what the answer should be. You know what I mean? The description sort of leads you, so you can't really say that this, you know, you can't say that scientifically this survey shows, you know what I mean? It's fine to get the, you know, sort of measure.
It's basically a qualitative tool to try to get a sense of priorities. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we know these are the climate impacts that we are seeing. It's science. And we know from our research what we need to do to address them. So the purpose of the survey is to really get a sense of priority. Where do people think that we should put most of our efforts and our resources?
I totally agree with
Yeah.
you that we know, but it appears that we don't really, that not everybody agrees with us. That's all I'm saying. So you're going to kind of get a measure of the people that agree with us as opposed to a measure of everybody's, sort of what I'm saying. Which is fine, I mean, as long as you're aware, it's not a big thing, I'm just bringing that up.
We always run into this problem
Yeah.
when we have our surveys, because we're not doing a scientific sample, but basically we're doing it for outreach and knowledge and to.
Like, for education,
for-
I get,
yeah,
yeah,
for
education.
really it is for education and outreach and to get some feedback wherever possible. But yes, you cannot take it as, it's not science. This is, as you said, a qualitative snapshot.
Yeah. I mean, I also want to mention that we did invite the town to do the survey jointly with us, but we never heard back. So
Survey says no.
we're just, it's focused on the village for that
Right.
reason.
Yeah,
People in the town are welcome to take it, and there's a question that asks, like, are you town or village or whatever? But that's why the focus of the material is on the village.
Yeah, their priorities may be different.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Okay, next up, special request, St. Nicholas Night, it's that time of year. So this is by the Good Shepherd Church, and on December 7th, they would like to have a parish Christmas-themed festival, which is open to the community. It'll involve Good Shepherd Church as well as the Father Brogan Center, and they will be closing that portion of Mulberry from one end to the other end during the hours of 4 p.m. to roughly 9:15. That'll be open. They anticipate 350 people to come out to visit this themed event, which they're going to provide. This has been approved by our police department, so we've been in consultation with them to know.
I have some information from him if you want to read it.
Go ahead.
So Sergeant Dunn said he spoke with Father Moore about the event, that the village can use the Meridian barricades to close Mulberry Street from East Market to South Street. It'd be closed from approximately 2:30 to 8:30. He's requested light towers from the county. They would be located at the intersections of East Market, Mulberry, and South Street in Mulberry. The south side of South Street will be signed for no parking from Route 9 to South Parsonage in order to accommodate emergency vehicle traffic, and all of his current concerns have been addressed. On the application, it doesn't note what their sensory safe space is, so they did email me that they would be in the wing of the Good Shepherd Church as a designated safe space. I also do have in writing confirmation that they are allowed to use the parking lot at 6 Mulberry.
That was my only question. I know that they have
Shall I
like a
answer?
lease to park there, but like they don't have a lease to throw a party there, so.
Yeah. All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the St. Nicholas Night event.
Second.
Any other discussion?
It is the same day as the, Center Claus.
Correct.
That is not an event that has been presented to the village.
Correct, because I think it's
It's
now
like-
they're just doing a little ceremony at the Church of
So
Messiah.
we are working very closely with Santa Claus. This is contained within the Reformed Church.
Yeah.
They do not need an event because they're not asking for parking, they're not asking for street closure, they're not asking for anything. It's all contained on the Reformed Church. We as the village are making sure that from a perspective that it's the same day, although their event is earlier in the day than this day, that we're anticipating traffic, which is why we are closing the south side of South Street for the whole day to allow for emergency vehicles to get through there, because there'll be a fair number of people coming into both events.
So, wait, we're closing South Street from?
South side of South Street, from Route 9 to South Parsonage Street.
Oh, we're not closing it, we're just not allowing.
I said the
parking.
south side of South Street, yes.
You're not closing it, you're just not allowing.
No parking,
Right, okay, thank you.
yeah. In anticipation of both events,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's the Reformed Church, I thought it was Messiah.
No, it's the Reformed Church, and that's what's complicated because they're on the same street.
Right.
That's why,
Well, it's sort of complicated because at least Messiah has that big parking lot area, but it's okay.
that's why we're taking the actions that we're taking, and we're working closely with both of them. All right, so all in favor of St. Nicholas Night, say aye.
Aye.
Next one is use of Village Hall. This is by the Democratic Committee to make, submitted by the Rhinebeck Democratic Committee, Michael Slavy, on 11/21/24 from 5:30 to 6:30 for the regular monthly Democratic Committee meeting.
No conflict?
Second.
No comment. Yeah. I'd like to make a motion to accept the use of Village Hall by the Rhinebeck Democratic Committee.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I
Aye.
have no commitments.
If I had a different last name, would you make me? I'm not on the committee.
Actually, you have no, actually, no, wait, what is it? You have no
I have no
you have no financial, you have no exposure. No.
All right, so again, are you ready?
Yes, we're totally ready. Right here with you.
All right, so Troop 228, the Scout Troop, with Joe Phelan, the troop commanding chair, is like to make a peddler's permit for Troop 28 seeking approval to sell locally sourced holiday wreaths as a fundraiser to support the service and outdoor activities of our local youth. No vehicles will be used for this wreath sale. Wreaths will be sold at Foster's Coach House Restaurant parking lot and at the management's, at their invitation. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the peddler permit for Troop 228 to sell wreaths on 11/30/24. No, excuse me,
Yes.
yeah,
there's
11/30/24,
two.
from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
There's two that are the same thing, just two different days. Do you want to do them
And two
together?
different
Well, I was gonna
locations,
do them
yeah.
separately, but if you
Oh,
want
I
to
didn't know there
combine.
were two different locations. Sorry,
Yeah.
separate, sorry.
All right, so I make a motion to approve the one from November. You say aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry,
I need a second.
Second,
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, too late at night. All right, now we have another one for Troop 228. As above is to sell wreaths at the, be sold now at the Good Shepherd Church at the St. Nicholas Fair at Mulberry Street, which we just talked about, which would be on December 7th from 5 to 7 p.m. I'd like to make a motion to accept the peddler's permit for Boy Scout Troop 228 to participate in that event in sell wreaths.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So done. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for October 8th, 24.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for October 22nd, 24.
Second.
I'd like to,
All in favor say aye. Any discussion?
yeah, just as amended.
The question was
Does it
as
say as
amended.
amended, or do we?
You don't really have to, as
Yeah.
amended. I presented a draft and just fixed the spelling, so.
All in favor say aye.
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 I
Okay.
abstain, I don't have time to look at the
Abstain?
second.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Abstained by Vanessa. All right, committee report, tree commission.
Okay, on this past Saturday, the tree commissioner volunteers planted 20 trees in 14 locations around the village. The planting went very well, very smoothly. It really represents months of hard work put in by the volunteers to make sure that things go as well as they did. So I'd like to say thank you. I may have a bit more of a full report about it next month, but again, this was accomplished. There'll be another planting in the spring, and if people are interested in having the tree commission plant a tree in the area, in the right-of-way, or just in the area just beyond the right-of-way, they should email the tree commission. It's trees@villageofrhinebeckny.gov and make a request. There are no action items for application reviews, and the only other thing is that the commission is organizing a pruning corps, which is a group of folks who will go out and do basically light maintenance on some of the trees that that the commission has planted recently. It's to do things like sucker, remove small limbs. No, there's no getting on a ladder. This isn't anything heavy, but it is light maintenance that young trees do need. And that will be taking place on September 23rd. And if you're interested in participating, I would also ask that you email trees@villageofrhinebeckny.gov. Thank you.
Madam Smart.
I just wanted to mention that we should be expecting, hopefully, proposals for our community choice aggregation project on Friday, I believe. Oh, great. So fingers crossed. And I also wanted to mention that I went over with Tree Commission Chair Meg Crawford, and we ID'd and tagged all of the baby trees from that riparian buffer planting that we did behind the highway department. 40 trees remaining.
That's great.
Yeah. And I think all the others, oh yeah, and then just also wanted to mention how glad I was to have Climate Smart Task Force table at the Thriving event that Rhinebeck at home put on. And I hope you were there too, Lydia, representing the village. But that was a really nice event, and thanks to people who came out and talked to us.
It was a really nice event.
Okay, thank you all. Okay, moving on to personnel. First thing I'd like to do, I'd like to make a motion to hire Benjamin Zitz
Yes.
as a highway laborer
Oh.
for our open position that we had for the previous employee, Blake, who resigned previously. Applications were accepted up to November 5th. Both the superintendent of public works and I have been conducting interviews, and we interviewed Benjamin Zitz for position and would like to offer him the position of highway laborer. And we will.
I need the rate,
What, pardon?
the rate,
At $23.50.
and the start date of Monday the 18th.
Oh, wow, next Monday?
Great.
Yeah, great.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Anything you want to share about it?
You know what? Again, what we're looking for is somebody that's willing to learn, and willing to work, and willing to be part of the village environment and participate well. Benjamin was very enthusiastic, showed a lot of willingness. I mean, he, is going to need some training, but that's okay. We're all about training people to use their equipment and use it properly and safely. So both the superintendent of public works and I found him that he would be a very good candidate for us.
Does he have any kind of previous experience with like lawn companies or maintenance companies?
Not really for lawn companies and maintenance companies, but he has done snow plowing for municipal lots.
Great.
He has done, lawn mowing and knows how to use lawn mowing equipment. Where he lacks is on some of the heavier equipment, which we would bring him on, so.
Cool. Fantastic.
And He's anxious, energetic, and not afraid to get behind a shovel.
Fantastic.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
So he has a back that feels better than mine, is what you're telling me? He has a back that feels better than mine?
I don't know.
Let's
I
hope.
don't know how your back feels.
Not great.
All right. Next thing I'd like to do, I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation of highway laborer.
Acknowledge.
What?
Acknowledge, not accept.
Acknowledge. What is it? Acknowledge the employee resignation of highway laborer Joe Zip.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So approved. All right, I'd like to make a motion to open a second laborer position for the Village of Rhinebeck Highway Department. I would like to keep those open until, what's the date on Friday?
The 15th.
The 15th. And the reason for such short time is we already have quite a bullpen of applicants that we've been interviewing and will continue to interview. I don't see a reason to extend it anymore beyond that if we think that we have a good number of applicants in the bullpen.
Can you just confirm the starting pay?
Pardon?
At $23.50?
Same rate, 23.50, yes.
No, starting.
Your starting rate was 23.
Oh, I thought it was 23.50.
No, and you just hired Ben at 23.
No, then I need to correct that because I thought we made that.
You did not. If you would like me to post the post, I can.
No, if that's what's in the post, then I want to go back and amend the other one. Because we got to do it at what we
Definitely
offer.
just wrote it down as 23.
He
You
said
wrote-
23.50.
I said
Then, yeah, well,
23.50.
then we'll have to fix it.
I
Okay.
need to amend that.
Okay.
Words. Benjamin, is that
For
his name?
this one though,
Benjamin, yes.
for this one though, I need a
He was
second.
offered the rate at the posting.
He was offered it at $23?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so this one I just need a second.
I need to amend
Second.
for starting rate of
I need a
23.
vote.
Yes.
And let's finish this one, I just need a vote.
Vote to open the position.
No, yeah.
No,
The new position.
Yeah.
it's just
And
finish.
then
Finish
we'll
this one, and
finish
we'll go
this,
back.
and then go back.
Right?
All right, do we have a second on the made the motion? Do we have a
Yeah.
second?
Yes.
Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, let's go back and amend the other one, because I did say 23.50. That was in my mind.
Okay.
I'd like to amend the previous motion to hire Ben Zeitz at $23 an hour.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Okay.
And he's comfortable with that rate?
Yes,
Great.
of course. They've all been asked. Okay, moving on. Sad news. I'd like to inform the board that Kathy Tegmeyer, who's been our emergency response coordinator, is resigning.
Wow.
And not for any particular reason, except she is really looking forward to retiring for the third time. And traveling and enjoying. I'd like to say that Kathy did just a phenomenal job for the Village of Rhinebeck in pulling together our emergency response coordination efforts, putting together a process and procedures for us to execute on, right? But she has found that the time commitment to be able to continue to do that work is more than what she would like to do in her retirement time. And I just am so grateful for what she's done, and I would like to wish her best wishes. And she has offered to stay on until we find a replacement, given that a situation should arrive that we need that emergency responder support. So the first one is I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation of Kathy Tegmeyer as our emergency response coordinator.
She hasn't technically resigned yet.
What?
She hasn't technically resigned yet.
Yes, she did.
I need it in writing.
Oh,
And she's
Put it
still,
in
and she's
Callie.
still serving until we
she's
find it.
got, but we have to open the position.
You can open the position.
All right,
Yeah.
so
You can
forget it, we
post-
won't
you can
accept
post
the
for it.
resignation, we're just gonna move on, and we're going to open the position to hire an emergency response coordinator for the Village of Rhinebeck when Kathy Tegmeyer responds.
Second.
How long would you like to leave that open? Or do you want to just leave it open-ended?
Yeah, what are they doing?
Yeah, this is gonna take a while to find that skill again.
Does this person have to live in the village?
No, they do not.
The
But they have to be
people
closer.
that are on- are
But-
uploaded?
Lydia, they have, it's desirable that they're close.
Yeah, sort
to
of
have,
like
you know,
volunteer fire
that they're
department.
not in
Right,
Buffalo.
right.
Right.
Yeah, for the next time the Asher Dam explodes.
Right, and these are important
No.
lines that you refer to, and also when you guys do Santa Claus and other things, this is all.
She's part of the emergency response coordination when we do all of the major events, right? So when we get police and fire, she's a participant in all of that. She's been very instrumental in helping us through the Board of Health. At the county level, the Dutchess County Emergency Response Coordination.
She
I could
rewrote
go on and on and
for
on,
Asher
the
Dam.
skills that Kathy brought to the village of Rhinebeck, and we are so grateful to have
It's
that.
an active and important position.
Correct.
Yeah, she
And-
rewrote everything having to do with Asher Dam, so when we were having that problem last year.
I brought her in,
Yeah.
yes.
And this is a volunteer position.
This is a volunteer position as outlined. I'm not going to read the whole job description, you guys have it.
Yeah.
We will publicize this, and I'd like to at least keep this open until filled.
Is it appropriate, I mean, this sounds ridiculous and I'm not trying to spend money, but is it appropriate to have this position be a volunteer position, given that Kathy didn't feel like she could do it in her retirement?
You know, just an interesting question, because a while back, I don't know whether you were on the board or not on the board when we brought Kathy in,
Kathy came on the same time I
I
did.
wanted to make it a stipend and pay these people a stipend, and actually, I think it was part of our budget process, and the question was no, not to. So, if you want to revisit that at some point in time, I'm very happy to open that discussion up.
Well, it's more, I mean, like, not in terms of, I mean, yes, we would obviously need to talk about it in terms of budget implication and, you know, what we pay our sort of volunteer, not volunteers. But this is more a question of like a woman who is retired, who this would be like a really lovely job for a retired person and has discovered that it is too much work to do inside a retirement, an actual retirement. And so it's like, it sort of feels,
It's more so that she's never here.
okay, so she just travels a lot.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so, right,
Paying Kathy is not going to retain her.
okay, got it.
Is that clear to you?
Yeah, that helps answer the question.
She's not, yeah.
You know, because like if this is like a real sort of 20-hour-a-week kind of job, then like we can't ask people to be a volunteer
No,
for
it's
that.
not that.
Yeah,
It is
Okay.
definitely not that.
okay,
Okay? But good question.
yeah,
I mean, a lot of our very active volunteers in some positions should get some sort of stipend.
yeah,
All right. Did we all say aye to that?
You did not.
Okay.
we do not.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to accept the buyout. I don't know what employee number this is.
It's because it's a shield number. And
What?
I don't have the shield number. It's not listed as an employee
Oh,
number.
it's a shield.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. 49 hours.
Second?
Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'd like to move on to the best part of the meeting, and that's representing our people who do work for us, and representing the anniversary for Chief Wastewater Operator Will Caruso for 2 years. And in 2 years of joining us, he's become our Chief Wastewater Operator, which is passing all the certification and meeting the requirements, which is no easy task. So thank you, Will. Thank you for all you do, and I'm looking forward to having many more years with you. Okay, now for a second part that these people like, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
See? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.